and get on the highway over here. So, whatever works, you know. So if we go down here, we get to another little town, which, as you can see, it's very quiet and dark, just like the others. Also, this exit here came with the little Super 2 highway. I didn't change it. I figure don't fix what isn't broken. I never had any problems with it, so I just decided to keep it the way it is. You got the town of Poplar Heights here, which is a bit more regular, you know. Once again, very small town, but very peaceful. And you come over here to a very largely abandoned industrial area. I believe these are ore industries. There's a way to easily check. Come on. Yeah, ore. It's possible that it sucked all the ore out of the ground, and that's why it's looking like that. Hard to know for sure. But, yep, this highway comes down here, and it intersects with this other highway in a very crazy and kind of cool little woobly-doo, we'll call it, scientific term. And it meets up with this highway, which comes down from the side. A fairly lonely highway. Not as lonely as the one up there, which is actually technically the same highway. But that links down to here, which brings us back to the highway that goes into our main, what might be considered one of our principal downtowns. But let's look down here first. We have, once again, another town. This one's a little bit less regular than the ones up there. Not really too much to show because they do kind of end up looking very similar after a while. But that's just sort of what happens. I added a office park over here, which seems to be growing pretty nicely. We have the St. Louis Arc, or Arch, is here for some reason, you know, just to add to the area. So that's pretty cool. But let's head back into our main area. As I said, yeah, now you can start to see a little bit more of the traffic problems, although I guarantee you it was far, far worse than this at various points. We have more suburbs going down here. I really like how those suburbs turned out. Just very nice. But, oh, do we have fire? We have ambulances going somewhere. But one of our main highways going down through here. And now we'll take a little look down further because we have another urban hub down here. So as you go down this highway, you meet up with the end of this highway where you have extra lanes, you have some exits, and then you have a branching path. You have the main highway continues to go this way, but you can also exit to go on that highway, which goes over there. So I built this highway to relieve congestion of an area we'll see very soon. But as you can see, the majority of people still prefer the original highway, but it's not really a big deal. It's okay. So we follow this highway, and on the side you get little suburban things here on little necks that stick out into the water. I think they're called necks. I mean, in New York, there's like Frog's Neck and a bunch of other necks and all of other things. New York's full of crazy and interesting names. But over here, you have a very interesting thing because we have some local lanes, we have express lanes, and we have another highway that comes off into this vicinity. It's relatively straightforward on this side of the highway because it starts as 3, it extends to 5. 2 go on to the express lanes, 3 go down to here, of which one becomes a local road and two go into the other highway, which is pretty straightforward. It makes its own kind of sense, and it actually works pretty well. However, what happens over here is a little bit more wonky because you have the highway coming in here, you have the local road coming in here, and then you have the expressway coming in here, and you might notice this is a traffic light on the expressway. What is this wildness? Well, traffic was merging so terribly. The merging algorithms aren't that good, and one of the two ways was completely full. Keep in mind, this is far less traffic than is usually here. This is usually a nightmare, but there was so much traffic that it actually became easier to do this, an alternating traffic light. One for the express lanes coming from down below, and one from this highway and the local lanes coming from the neighborhood. Okay, and you can see 3 lanes go forward, 1 goes into an exit, and it all continues on normally from there. But now that we've come to this town, let's take a look at it. As you can see, people are sick in this town, which is why we saw all of those ambulances. So this town is actually built on a grid. Something very bright down here. The high school. High school is very bright. Hopefully the kids are bright too. But we have a nice little urban area down here. Some roads crisscrossing. Very easy access from the highway here. As you can see, reminiscent very so slightly of Springfield, which was the last city I showed off, with the local and expressway configurations. There's 3 traffic lights down here, and really the only place in the whole city where you'll find 3 on a side avenues. But they, a lot of them are stubby, especially this one, very stubby. But also, you can't directly get from this highway to this highway without first getting off on the local lanes, going down through here, and going up there. But for whatever reason, very few people actually need to do that, so it's not something that creates that much of a problem. And once again, this is only 2 lanes aside, because I never expected this to be that busy, but it actually turned out to be a fairly busy expressway. But it seems to all work out. It seems like people are using it okay. So we have our hub here, and up here we have some more towns, more suburbs, quiet and dark once again, although it's probably not that quiet considering the highways, the rails, all that. But once again, an area where the rail was built first, so everything else had to squeeze in. You have some a farm zone which is actually not abandoned over here. I mean, there's a few abandoned buildings, but by and large, it's functioning much better. You have the Statue of Liberty in a very odd place. The city just sort of ends here. I always thought this was kind of funny. One goes under, one goes over, which is actually the opposite of what you would think. This one would probably go under, that one would go over, but it's okay. Let's add some character. As you can see here, this is probably our busiest cargo harbor, and it has its own fire station because it almost burnt down once. That sucked. But yeah, the roads come all the way down here. Highway, which is one reason why it's so busy, because of all the traffic that uses it. But ultimately, this highway ends at the sort of the outer ring highway. If we scroll out, we can see that this comes all the way down here past this town. It becomes the end of this highway, or it meets with the end of that highway, crosses the upper channel in a huge bridge, and then the lower channel in a huge bridge. But the expressway ends here, and it actually becomes a pair of local streets into this very small town, which is actually kind of nice how it's laid out, because you sort of have your commercial strip, which is right on the roads that are made by the highway ending. And then outside of that, you get into nice, quiet, peaceful suburbs, except someone's getting arrested over here. Does he have a, oh, he has somebody in the car. Alright. So yeah, nice little town here at the edge. Once again, edge of the city-state with its border road. Just how I like to, do things, you know? That's a cool looking angle of the bridge, by the way. So this is what I sort of call the between the necks area, you know? It's between the bays. But now that we've come down through here, back to one of our urban throngs, we are going to cross the lower of the two big channels and see what's down there. So, scoot our way down, cross the bridge, and we have another urban hub. This one is a little bit longer and it's a little bit less, I don't know. It just looks like this would be like the seedier of the urban hubs. It just feels that way for some reason. I don't really have any concrete reason why. It just feels that way. Although it has a nice park here, and I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, it's actually pretty nice. At least over there, maybe over here. Actually, no, I was wrong. This area is pretty nice. I'm sorry, residents of this area. I didn't mean to insult your place. Just looks a little rough, you know. So, anyway, if you recall, local and express lanes connect, bridge crosses, and the expressway ends on the city streets. Yes, that's right. This expressway, which started up here, comes down through here, combines with all these things, it ends in city streets. It's probably the most interesting expressway in this town. But yeah, at one point, as you might imagine, this was very congested. Not so much now. And this is actually one of the nicer industrial zones I've ever made. It's just very peaceful looking, very normal, very old school. Yeah, forget everything I said. This is a very nice town. Alright, but what used to happen was all the traffic was funneled from here. They went through here and onto this avenue. And it might not look so bad now, but at one point it was quite congested, and it was a pretty big problem. So that was one of the reasons for the creation of this highway. As you can see, this highway branches off here, takes a route through the suburbs to the east of this area. Very quiet suburbs. Most likely these suburbs were not yet built at the time, so this highway travels through them, has its own bridge, goes through this area to the east of, well, not the east, but we'll say to the right of whatever this town is here, and then this comes and meets this highway here. This highway does not meet this highway. Keep in mind, this highway was built long after this one was built to end, and I didn't feel like ripping everything up. I felt like just building a new highway to connect, and it worked pretty well. But, as you can see, very grid-like, with one big exception. As you can see, remember my crazy random roads? Well, here is one right here. And I managed to incorporate it into the city. And it's just neat, because you have this grid city, and you have this one kind of crazy road. It's kind of like Broadway in New York, or Passyunk. Is it Passyunk? Yeah, Passyunk in Philly. Or not Girard Avenue. What was the name of that one? Germantown Avenue in North Philly. Or Ridge Avenue, even in some parts of North Philly as well. It's similar situation. Road predates the city built around it, but incorporates the road. It's very neat. So that comes down here, and as you can see, it's sort of, this is actually part of the road, and it comes This is actually all one big road that was made at one point. It comes down here. If we go over here, we have another industrial area. If you look at all the smokestacks, I believe this is an oil area. So you have a lot of oil trucks here. Some residential, but this is mainly a commercial area. You have some big bridges going over here. Some traffic, but not overall a major route, you know. But, as I pointed out here, this perimeter highway curves around and becomes sort of the lower tier highway. Oh, look at the sunrise off those hills. Isn't that a cool sight? Yes, it is. It is a cool sight. So now that we've taken a look at what's over here, I mean, do we look at here? I mean, nothing too spectacular, just a few more suburbs, a few more industry. You know, this is pretty much more of what we've seen, and now it's raining. Ah, the rain. Man, the roads are probably going to get a really neat kind of glossy texture, which I really like to see. But anyway, we have a nice little town located at the bottom of the world. If you wonder why all these districts were here, I got drunk and I wrote the word swirly in districts. Don't ask why. But yes, little town here. And as you can see, if you came down from this highway, you can use this complicated ramp system to get on the lower tier highway, or slip off onto the national road, which comes down to this town. Now there's one last sort of urban hub in this area, which is down here. If you follow the lower tier highway, you get the last urban hub, which is deliberately spaced out a bit compared to what we saw up there. As you can see, the streets are pretty far apart. So once again, you get one little random road, and the rest is very gritty. So this lower tier expressway comes up here. A lot of these city avenues sort of just end abruptly into small roads just because there was really no need to extend them further than where they had already been built to. But another big arcing road here. At one point I had tremendous traffic problems right here, so I upgraded all these to avenues, and now it seems to work a-okay, but for a while it was a pain in the butt, you know. I think there was some sort of glitch preventing things from operating right. But, as I pointed out before, this is our sort of our eastern expressway, the little 2-lane per side highway that the lower tier expressway will intersect with. And it comes down here. If you remember, I think I showed you this town before. Pretty sure I did. But you meet the end of this long outer highway, which comes down here. You know, connects to all these highways. Hooks up through here. There's a little bit of a roundabout, a very lonely roundabout because very few people come here. And then this highway comes to a sort of anticlimactic end at the border, connecting to the border highway, which is used by a few people actually, and we'll explain why in a second. But yeah, I just like this whole area because first I built the stack, and then I built the roads going under the stack, and then I built some ramps going off of it, and then there's buildings under it. So it's crazy wacky fun. It's nice. So we've seen that. You might not think that there's much under the lower tier expressway, but actually there's a little bit more down here. So we're going to follow this down, and as you can see, a lot of traffic gets off here to go on this national road. Why can that be? Well, down here we have a few more little establishments. We have this town, which is apparently called Briar Rose Park, which is a very non-gridular place, as you can see. I just like the look of this, like spider webs coming off of the main town. And this was actually one of the places that was built real early on in the development of this city. So there is not very much has been added to this since the early days of this construction, which is pretty neat. As you can see, there's some water pumps here. But yeah, this highway comes down here, the Eastern Tier Highway, which isn't Eastern, probably should think of a different name. But as you can see, it sort of arcs around this little stubbly thing here. And then at the very end, it splits off into two national roads. And you have the very last towns at the bottom here. First of all, this was literally the only place in the entire map that was flat enough to put the airport. This completely out of the way, far away place was the only place to put an airport. So I decided that this would be a neat place for a little town right on the border. Like, this is literally as far away from anything as you can get. But you see, people will use this border road to get to this little town that's going on down here. As you can see, we have old roads here interspersed with deliberately placed major roads, and then you have the section of the town that's down here. You have the front door of the airport, and as you can see, this train station is actually very commonly used. In fact, this train is full. Look at that! Wow. Between the airport and I guess the town itself, but I'm thinking it's mostly the airport. Oh wow, I never noticed this, but they actually taxi uphill to the terminal and then they taxi back downhill to the runway. I'm not sure if anywhere actually works that way, but maybe it does. But anyway, you have sort of an outlying area of this town here, this little island here, and you get this, which I consider to be the loneliest town on the map. You know, it might be a little bit closer than this town, barely, or not really, because this highway sort of more directly leads there. But this has no airport, has no anything, has a train station up here, but that's about it. Ooh, the roads are starting to glisten from the rain. You see that? I like that. I love how the sun reflects. It's just neat. But anyway, yeah, we have the swooping arc here, and this national road ends here. We have the saddest, most abandoned farm zone, apart from the other one on the other side of the world. But even here we have our own suburbs and things. And over here, nothing has been made. But it gives you a good indication of what this map looked like at the beginning, because these little random streets is what I did to the entire map. And, you know, you can actually still see traces of them here, you know, around places. So, basically, that's the city. I'm very proud of it. I like it, actually. I like it a lot. I don't know. I just like the look and the aesthetic of all this. Like, sure, it's a bit sprawling, but, hey, you know, what can you do? This game, by and large, is not as high-density friendly, especially over long distances, as SimCity 4 was, but that's fine. It actually does work out pretty well in its areas. I don't know what's so filthy about this spot. Oh, I guess I do have a little industrial zone. But yeah, let's take a look at some of the train lines. As I said, compared to Santa Palma and a few other cities, the train line is not very developed. As you can see, there are large areas that aren't serviced by any train. This is much more of a car city than that was, but it doesn't mean that there aren't some train lines. In fact, because it was organic, I sort of placed the train lines one at a time without really thinking too much into it. And you'll get things like I forget where exactly it happens, but there's areas where train lines will cross without intersecting, and there's bus lines too. And this is the only functioning subway line in the city right here. I tried to make one over here, but it didn't work. We're going to try one more time, live on camera. We're going to do it live. And one of two things will happen. Come on. Either it will work, and I'll be happy, or I'll be able to show you what my damn problem was. So either way, it works out. Okay, we're doing this live. Where is the station? Oh, it's up here. Create a new line. Really? Now, I was actually planning to do a lot more of this throughout the city, and I still might. Because you can see the happy faces. People are really liking this subway system. So we are going to build it out to the furthest subway that line station that we have placed. Okay. So far so good. But it's right at the end where it screws up. Let's find out if it does. Ready, set. You see? You see? And then that happens. That happens, and I don't understand it. And it's annoying. And then I have to delete it. Yeah, I'm sad too, guys. So yes, if anyone can tell me why that happens, please put it in the comments, because it also happened when I tried it down here. So it's not specific to that one spot. I was able to get that one, this one up here, but for some reason, this one and that one just would not work no matter what I did. So, if you know the answer to my conundrum, please leave it in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. Anyway, let's look at some of the transportation numbers. We have a lot of people using our bus lines. The champion being bus line 9, I think. So, let's see. Where is bus line 9? Okay, there it is. It's one of these here. Since there's no public transportation in the city other than the buses, but as you can see, or possibly can see, actually there's not that much congestion. I was going to say there was a lot of congestion, but it seems to be working out pretty well. So that's good. In terms of train lines, what is the MVP of the train lines? That would be train line 3 by a wide margin, which is, let's see, well, that is the passenger terminal, and that comes, oh, it's the line that comes through here, I see, and it goes all the way up through there. It connects there. Well, yeah, I can definitely see why that line would be number 1. But you can see why these lines were built as more long-distance lines than local commuter lines, because those stations are very far apart, and many areas are just not serviced by the rail. And of course, you get areas like this that have absolutely no public transportation whatsoever. So as you can see, there is still plenty of work to be done with this city. It's not done by any means, but I think I've made a pretty cool city. I like it. So I think I'm going to conclude the tour there. I think I'm probably going to do a ride and ramble video. Well, you'll see it in your sub box very quickly if I do decide to do so. So you probably already know whether I decide to do so or not. But as for the main tour video, that is going to be that. This has been the City of Optomy. I want to thank you very much for watching it, and I just want to thank you in general for your continued interest in my channel and what I do here. So, ladies and gentlemen, Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.